America's most exciting television shopping network delivers great products directly to your home. For all of your needs, wishes, and must-haves, Value Vision brings you quality with brand-name products in a fun and convenient television shopping show. As to the savings, well, you just have to tune in to see. So for that special gift, things you've always wanted, or just something to pamper yourself, tune in today and see why all across America, smart shoppers are coming home to Value Vision.
Welcome to the podcast, which is all about the world of direct response. Are we on the air? I'm your host, Sean Wilsey, and for over 30 years, I hosted shows on cable shopping networks, and now I want to be your guide into this world as we look at the ever-changing changer of direct response television. Well, today was the day. It happened. In one of the most anticlimactic things ever, pretty much everything I predicted was going to happen happened. iMedia, parent company of ShopHQ, came out with their yearly numbers. I'm not even going to mess around with this. This might be a short show. They sucked. The numbers just stunk. It was pretty much everything that, again, we predicted it was going to be, and they needed something to song and dance their yearly results with, and so they waited until they had these transactions. I'm not even going to bother with throwing a bunch of numbers at you. It's just, it's depressing is what it is. But for those that are curious and that have not heard, their year-over-year sales were down a little bit, maybe 30%, versus in the fourth quarter versus the year before. Now, to be fair, a 30% drop, that would put warning bells going everywhere. Their year-over-year sales, and I don't know why they didn't make a bigger deal about this. We're only down 1%. These are net sales. And the reason I bring these numbers up is because, and one of the things that they mentioned is they didn't have Dish Network for most of the year. So that explains the big 30% drop, but then to make up the year with just a 1% drop year-over-year, I got to admit that's not bad. So, iMedia, ShopHQ, where do they go from here? Well, I'm just going to read, and this is, I try to make these shows entertaining. It's tough to make entertaining crappy news, but, these are just some of the comments from the conference call that they had this morning. Tim Peterman, their CEO. I love how he started this. I got to admit, I give the guy credit. He said, let's start with the obvious. Quote early, which is, I'm sorry, let me start this again. I'm quoting Tim Peterman. He says, let's start with the obvious quote early, which is by Mike Tyson. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yeah, I got to admit that he's starting off saying, you know what? Yeah, this stinks. And adding that their debt reduction. What was this about? I went over this in the last show. It's this company. It's all about getting their debt down because they're swimming in so much debt. And that's part of the reason for all the cost cutting that they did last year, losing Dish Network and all of this. It's to, corporate debt is not like mom and dad debt. When you're a family and you have debt on your credit cards, it's because you wanted a vacation. You bought a color television because you didn't want a black and white TV. What a reference I made. Color TV. Of course you bought a color TV. But, that's why you go into debt, and then you pay it off. In the corporate world, businesses live on debt. They need to accrue debt so they can get a return on that investment. And for ShopHQ, they've been building up a lot of debt for a lot of years. And it's coming due. That's the thing, though. With a credit card, well, we make minimum payments and, we'll pay it off eventually. Businesses aren't like that. And this is the best analogy that I have, is just comparing it to your home, yet pointing out how it's different. Debt comes due, and they needed to reduce this debt. And so that's why they sold their buildings off. And honestly, their entire year-end report is nothing but debt, paying down debt. Nowhere here do they talk really about, here's what we're going to do. Here's our big plan for the year. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself a little bit. So again, continuing what Tim had to say. I'm kind of jumping around, obviously, because this really is boring to read. I've read through this whole thing 3 times now, and it's more boring each time. And I think I understand it less each time. Quoting, now that we have simultaneously closed these 6 transactions that are all connected. Now, hold on. Last show, we talked about the fact that it was 5 transactions. A few months ago, it was 3 transactions. What are the 6 transactions now? We continue, that are all connected by the singular purpose of reducing our debt by $53 million and reducing our annual interest expense by $7 million. Our teams and vendors are rapidly shifting their focus back to our normal day-to-day operations. He admitted they've been focused on getting down the debt. Oh, my Lord, the word debt is like nails on a chalkboard to me right now. He continues, this is not an overnight fix. We have merchandise categories and vendors that require time, attention, and capital. We have customers to recapture. We have market share to win back from our competitors. Keep that in mind when we start talking about what their plan is going forward. And I'm still not sure I know what their plan is going forward. He mentioned the 123 TV auction app that launched on ShopHQ.com, which I think is connected to that auction thing that I was playing on the last show. Is the first phase of 123 TV's product development roadmap as it continues on its timeline to launch its standalone travel auction site focused on disrupting the online travel shopping marketplaces here in the U.S. Well, that gets my attention. So they are going to go after the travel market. Good thing that nobody's been going after the travel market online for 25 years. Yeah, untapped territory. Smart move. Travel market. That's the way to go. Our decision to not renew Dish until we came to an agreement on future expense reductions created a short-term reduction in our 2022 net sales, but it was critical and necessary first step to position us to achieve our milestone of reducing our content distribution as a percent of net sales in 2023. I do want to talk about this because if you're a viewer of cable shopping networks, this is important. How do you get the shows? How do you get the program? And I've been witness to these Dish network bet. Dish is notorious for this, and Fox and Nexstar and NBC, they all battle Dish at one point or another over this carriage thing. And this goes to, again, the future of how these channels are going to exist, and more it looks like you're going to have to exist in an online form, in an app somehow. Not in the format that you are, because it's too expensive to operate like this. If you've ever been in a television studio, you get an idea how expensive it has to be to run all those lights, all those cameras and everything. Now multiply that over time by maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or more, depending on the number of the studios that these networks operate off of it. When you got, as I said before, I can do it from my garage tomorrow. And so they have to look at how they're doing this. One of the solutions they have is over the air. You know, the .2, .3, .4 channels. Problem with that is that your corporate companies like Fox, here in where I live, Fox 7, has a 7.1, 7.2, 7.3. I think they're up to like 7.7 now. Every one of those small networks, all Fox-owned. Same thing with Nexstar, who has 36, I think it is here, 36.1, 0.2, 0.3. All those small networks, they own all of them. You have such a merger of corporate media now with the over-the-airs that they're going to be able to own all their own .2, .3, .4 channels. So there's going to be no room for the ShopHQs and the others without paying a stupid amount of money. Now we're back to the Dish Network problem again. You don't need to pay for carriage when it's all in an app. So is that the future? It's looking more and more like it. We continue with Mr. Peterman's comments. I want to remind everyone about what we believe our reason for being Ooh, this sounds good. I want to remind everyone about what we believe our reason for being is here at iMedia. Beginning in 2019, iMedia established a growth strategy and an entrepreneurial culture focused on operating 4 television networks. ShopHQ, 123 TV, Shop Bulldog TV, and ShopHQ Health. 123 TV, that's the German one. Bulldog TV, ShopHQ Health. Do you even get those on TV? Probably not. And then, of course, ShopHQ. Each of which have been uniquely crafted to focus the same boomer demographic consumer and to now, wait. The same consumer? You're telling me the consumer that watches the girls with duct tape on their chests and the motorcycle babe, that's the same consumer that's watching Manuela sell skincare at night? I don't think so. Anyway, but he says the same consumer, and to drive multiple revenue streams, T-commerce, e-commerce, digital advertising, OTT, SaaS revenues, and brick-and-mortar retail. Boy, they're trying to do everything, aren't they? What's the focus? Our diversified revenue model and singular focus on one customer demographic. Again, what's with this one? You don't have one customer. You got the guy, and men cutting the cable more than the women are, watching the girls in bikinis with their legs crossed over each other, and then great-grandma tunes in to watch skincare. So I'm not sure you have the one customer. Enables us to accelerate the share growth of net sales from digital. Are you as bored as I am? And these are the highlighted parts of this. This is the good stuff. Q4 net sales were $133.5 million, a decrease of about 31% compared to the same period last year. That just kind of rests on its own. For fiscal year 2022, net sales were $544.5 million, a 1% decrease over the same prior year. Again, I'd be doing a song and dance about that, but nope, just one little throwaway line. Nothing. So, their future seems to be tied into a couple things. He makes a lot of comments about digital. And there was one even very telling comment in one of the slideshows that they present to the investors I found interesting. Our diversified revenue model and singular focus on one customer demographic enables us to accelerate the share growth of net sales from digital products and reduce the historical reliance on the sale of physical inventory products that require logistics expenses and working capital. What does that mean? It means enables us to accelerate, mean speed up the share growth increase of net sales, the sales that they're getting from digital products. Digital product, that's a non-tangible. It's something you can't hold in your hand. Think of it that way. And reduce the historical reliance on the sale of physical inventory products. What that? It's something you can hold in your hand. So where does the network? Where does it leave ShopHQ? So let's find out. Here again from the CEO. So we are actually accelerating our migration into jewelry and beauty at a quicker rate in Q1 and Q2 in order to stabilize and then continue to a growth pattern in the customer file in total for ShopHQ. I couldn't agree more, Orson. Heard this before. And you can look at this historically. ShopHQ, back when it was Evine, back when it was Evine Live, back when it was ShopHQ, back when it was ShopNBC, back when it was Value Vision. Every few years, we're a jewelry network. We're not a jewelry network. We're a jewelry network. We're not a jewelry network. Hey, we sell jewelry. No, we don't sell jewelry. Forget you ever saw jewelry. We don't touch jewelry. Oh, we love jewelry here. Nope. We are all about the brand name channel. It's this identity or lack thereof, maybe, that is their biggest problem. If I think of QVC, I think of certain things. If I think of HSN, I think of certain things. If I think of ShopHQ, I think of Invicta. That's about it. So they're going to become a jewelry network again. Okay, great. I've been through that with them. I think we became a jewelry network about 5 different times when I was there, and then not a jewelry network. Only other problem with that is historically jewelry is not a way to get customer growth. You already have one person that's really cornered the market on jewelry, maybe 2. And it's a known fact that new customers don't buy jewelry. You don't get new customers from jewelry shows. You get new customers from NJP, non-jewelry product. So weird way to get growth in customers, growth pattern or customer file by becoming a jewelry network again. Beauty? Maybe, yeah. They have primarily one beauty brand, which suits them very well. So, man, it's like 1997 all over again. It really is. It's just, this is totally rinse, repeat. So we end this with kind of how we started it. Where's the future? Who knows? I don't know. It was very interesting that they did not, and no one asked because they do a Q&A about the 2 new board members, which we broke the news of, I guess, here on this silly podcast a couple days ago. There was no mention of that, which I found very telling and very interesting. Just a little side comment here, again, as we close this show at the close of the trade of the business day, stock market day today. Just to let you know, their stock is right now, as we record this, valued at 42 cents a share. That dropped 20% today, 19%, let's be fair. That is also very telling because I have seen so many times, and not just iMedia, QVC, my gosh, any corporation, Nike, Macy's, they can release terrible numbers. Not that Nike releases terrible numbers. Macy's may be a better example. In fact, they are a good example. Their last report, their sales were not great, but they beat what the street was expecting, meaning what the investment community was expecting. So their stock went up that day. I've seen many times when iMedia, QVC, and these other home shopping networks, they release their numbers. Their numbers aren't great, but the stock still goes up. So this is kind of telling that even the investment community has said, you know what, this is, I don't want to say it's over, but they've kind of left it now and said, okay, let's. And by the way, speaking of stock, they did another thing they didn't announce. What are they doing to get back in NASDAQ's good graces? They've been under $1 a share a long time now. They are in danger of delisting on the NASDAQ, which, by the way, just so we stay fair and balanced, so to speak, QVC stock closed today not much better, 83 cents a share. So they are under $1 a share. And, you hang there long enough again, you do get delisted from the NASDAQ unless you're doing certain things. So we'll see what happens. Time will tell. Speaking of QVC, we're so late now into 2023 that we're about a month away from them releasing their quarterly numbers for the first quarter. So it just gets more and more interesting, doesn't it? Okay, you've had enough of me for this week, haven't you? Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss a show. Plus, you can listen to the archive of past shows. I hope you'll check me out on Twitter and YouTube, where I'm Sean Wilsey, my full name, ShawnWilsie, and on Instagram at SWilsey. Thank you for downloading this edition of Are We On The Air? As always, this has been a King Bobby production.
Yes, I know, Travis. That's why we give such bargains.